Welcome back to the Investment Desk by ReserveOne. I'm Sebastian Bea, President, COO, and Head of Investments here at ReserveOne. Each week we focus on macro, crypto, and protocols. This week, tariffs, Bitcoin dominance, and it's Bitcoin week here at ReserveOne. Before that, just a reminder, ReserveOne is expected to list in Q4 2025 in a billion-dollar transaction under the NASDAQ ticker RONE via a merger with M3 Brigade Acquisition Corp, Acquisition V Corp, I should say. The ticker there is MBAV. All right, let's jump into it on tariffs and Fed policy. We're going back to the same headline because we just don't think it's gained enough attention. The US Treasury in June 2025 had a surplus. The actual number was approximately $526 million of revenue coming in. That is a 13% year-over-year increase. That is, again, a surplus from your US government in the month of June. This is coming against the backdrop, of course, of concern around effectiveness of Doge, about the potential for the big, beautiful bill to increase deficits. But the facts on the ground are that in June, the US government actually had a surplus. So there you are. Now, why do we care? I think it's important for the macro context around the bond market in the US. So clearly, some market participants recently were concerned that, sure, the US could push for rate cuts on the short end, but they could lose control of the long end. But this type of fiscal sustainability that we're concerned about becomes a little bit less concerning when you see that the government can, in fact, actually, at least for 1 month, have a surplus. Look, so 1 month does not make a trend, but 1 month is worth paying attention to because it does suggest that there's a new dynamic, of course, in town with tariffs. It is substantially good for at least the budget of the U.S. government. We'll see what it means for inflation, of course, and the overall economy. But in the short term, it could possibly take a little bit of risk out of the long end. And look, all things being equal, maybe it's easier to cut in the fall. But as you probably saw today, it is August 6th. The ISM services number came out, and all things are not equal. The ISM services prices paid for July was a tough number on the order of 69. The index value was about 69, which meant what does that really mean? 42% of industries reported seeing an increase in prices paid in July. That's not great. So we can see why the Fed clearly seems to prefer to wait and see about cutting, given some of these potentially inflationary dynamics that are out there. All right, so moving into crypto. So over the last month or so, what have you seen? Well, Bitcoin got its all-time high on or about July 14th, and it's been flat to down since. Bitcoin dominance has actually gone up a little bit from the lows, most recently around 61.8%. But we do think that's likely headed lower. We're bullish Bitcoin, but we would suggest that the potential for Bitcoin dominance is probably down in the near term. More on that soon. One of the reasons we think that is we just think that the White House crypto report was very constructive for altcoins in particular. So just looking at returns in the short term, in the last month, I think the picture becomes quite obvious. So Bitcoin's up about 5% in the last rolling month. That's nice, but it is far shy of what other major crypto tokens are doing. So Ethereum is up approximately 42% in that same time period. Solana is up 10.6%, Ripple 31%, and Cardano 26%. So we're starting to see what we think is likely to persist, which is a pickup of performance from alternative coins and perhaps a decrease in Bitcoin dominance. But more on that soon. We're doing some work around how Bitcoin dominance going down could still be very bullish for Bitcoin, especially when we consider Bitcoin's role in store value portfolios, meaning gold and Bitcoin. But more on that in a bit. Just before we get off to move over to Bitcoin Week, just in terms of the internals on trading in crypto, one thing I did notice is that funding rates actually went negative for Bitcoin recently. That was specifically on August 3rd. Found it quite interesting that that was happening at the same time where funding rates were strongly positive still for Ethereum. The levels aren't terribly high, but the dispersion in behaviors, it is interesting. I guess the takeaway would be that if there is a bit of a speculative momentum happening from retail trading, it's more so present today in Ethereum in comparison to Bitcoin. All right, so let's get into Bitcoin Week. So for Bitcoin Week, for ReserveOne specifically, we're having a bunch of social media commentary coming out to help people understand and learn more about Bitcoin this week. So what does that mean? We've got a great post coming up on the top people to follow in Bitcoin. We've also got a really interesting did you know top facts for Bitcoin. And even though I've been in it for a while, there are some things that came up from a marketing team there that were quite useful. So watch for the top facts from ReserveOne. And then for an external source, I want to highlight the work of a Christine Kim. I was reading issue number 3 of Bitcoin Before Light. If you don't know Christine Kim, she's formerly of Galaxy. She is a great source, independent source, to try to understand the details of Bitcoin. Specifically, she writes up what the Bitcoin devs are doing. More recently, they are working on a couple different projects. One caught my eye because we're going to be setting up a new node for ReserveOne in Bitcoin, that they are working to improve the initial block download for new nodes. So that's a little bit in the weeds, clearly, but if you want to learn more, you can find Christine Kim on Substack. We're big fans of her work. Okay, that's it. It is August 6th, 2:45. Next week we'll be back on Monday. But that is the investment desk for this week. If you liked what you heard, or even if you didn't, let us know on X, LinkedIn, or head over to our website and send us a message. Thanks so much. Bye.